So the first topic I said is introduction to organization environment. And organizations normally operate in an environment which must ensure sustainability at the end of the day. When I talk about sustainability, I mean the business should look at the future, what the future holds, so that as much as they want to produce or as much as they want to operate, they also need to look at the future generation so that the business will continue running for a very long time. So we have the internal environment and the external environment. Internal environment is the environment that you can easily influence or you can control that environment. For example, when you look at maybe structures, organization structure, a structure is something that you can easily adjust so that it can favor your business. When you look at the employees, for example, you can easily motivate your employees by maybe creating an enabling environment so that they can realize their potential. Things like the owners of the business, you can talk to the owners of the business so that they can use what they have to ensure that the business is running. We also have the external environment. The external environment is very tricky because the main purpose of the external environment is for organizations to be able to adapt with what is happening around. For example, when you look at currently, we are having technologies, new technologies are coming up. If new technologies are coming up, then it means organizations must be able to adapt to the new technology for them to be able to survive. Things like political instability. In countries like, let's say, Congo, for example, they are experiencing some kind of political instability. And that is why you find those countries are fighting so much. The citizens of that country are fighting for survival. When that environment is like that, it is very difficult for organizations to do business. Our second chapter will be foundation of organization environment. Here we will be able to understand some of the theories that have been used before, or some of the theories that can be used within the organization to be able to ensure operations are running. And when you talk about a theory, basically is something that has been discovered or something that has been there. A theory is just like a philosophy. And once that philosophy is good, then it becomes a theory. Then types of organizational environment, we also need to understand what are some of the types of organizational environment that you can have. The other critical thing is then we have dimensions of organizational environment. We shall also be able to understand that. Chapter 3 is about organizational behavior. And when we talk about behavior, we need to understand some of the behaviors within the organization. Remember, in an organization environment, we have people who work in that environment. So it is always important to learn and unlearn some behaviors that might affect the operation of the organization. And that is why in most organizations, you might find the human resource department that has been given that mandate to ensure that they're able to understand human behavior and what affects maybe performance of people within a business environment. Then you also need to understand the goals of organization behavior. What do we have to achieve when we look at the behaviors of people within the organization setting? Then key factors affecting nature of organization. We also are going to look at some of the factors that affect people's behavior within the organization and how well we can be able to control some of these factors so that they do not affect employees in any way. Then we shall also look at the models of organizational behavior, different models that have been used, that have been tested, and that are working within the organization. The other thing that we are going to look at is the types of organization. When we talk about types of organizations, we have different types of organization, be it a sole proprietorship, be it a partnership, be it a limited company, be it a cooperative society. We need to understand some of the environments in which they operate. For example, there are some advantages that a sole proprietor has that a partnership does not have. So we are going to look at some of those issues, and it will be very critical. The other thing that we need to look at is the procurement organization and structure. For you to be able to understand what happens in most businesses, it is very important also to understand the procurement aspect of most of these businesses, so that at the end of the day, you don't mess your procurement. Because the moment you do not do procurement well, then it means your business is likely to fail and you might end up even closing. So we are going to look at issues like the functions model for procurement. We are going to look at some of the responsibilities of the supply chain function, the structure of procurement function, consortium buying, procurement as an internal service provider, and organization complexity. Then chapter 6 is about the types of market and market theories. So here we are going to look at some of the theories that will help us understand the market. For example, we can look at the types of markets that we have. For example, oligopoly. We can look at perfect competition. We can look at monopoly and other forms of markets. Then the other thing that we will look at is the impact of market competition in procurement and supply chain management. The other topic that we are going to look at is stakeholder management. And when we talk about stakeholders, these are the people or organizations or institutions that are affected by the operation of the organization in one way or another. For example, a company like Safaricom has different stakeholders. For example, we have suppliers, we have customers, we have the public at large, we have the government, we have even the internal employees who play a very critical role. So it is important also to understand what are some of the roles of different stakeholders or stakeholders within an organization setting. We shall also look at the feedback, customer feedback. Remember, if you don't get feedback from customers, then it becomes very difficult even to improve your operation. Feedback is always good, be it a positive feedback or a negative feedback. It is good for the business. Then we shall also look at stakeholders relationship management, how to manage the relationship between the organization and other stakeholders. Chapter 8 is about environmental analysis. And environmental analysis is all about scanning the environment and trying to look at opportunities within the environment and how you can tap on those opportunities. The other critical thing that you need to look at is threats that are in the market, so that with the threats that are in the market, you avoid them, then you capitalize on your opportunities so that you can be strong and avoid weaknesses. We will also be looking at some of the tools that are used in environmental analysis and the dimensions of some of those analyses. Chapter 9 is on emerging issues and trends in organization environment. We are going to look at the current trends and how they affect businesses, some of the challenges that organizations are facing, and how well they are going to capitalize and ensure that they remain competitive in the competitive business environment. The other critical area is the issue of ICT, where nowadays we have artificial intelligence and we have robotics that plays a very critical role in most organizations. And organizations are starting to adapt on artificial intelligence, and that is a good thing for most organizations. However, remember, change is constant, and when change is constant, most people are normally affected by the change because it gets them by surprise, and they end up thinking that technology is going to take their jobs away rather than improve their jobs.